I am so thrilled today because we have two members of the Call to Peace Ministry staff that are joining us for this conversation. When families heal, the power of a safe advocate. Today, we're going to be exploring advocacy. Maybe if advocacy is right for you, if you're feeling called to be an advocate and you're wanting to learn more, how to be a safe friend, how to be a safe church. And so I'm excited to have this conversation. And before we begin, can y'all go ahead and introduce yourselves? We have a new familiar face here. I'm so excited that Call to Peace is growing and expanding, and they brought Rebecca on with us. So she has been with Call to Peace for a long time. So Rebecca, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Rebecca Sodergren. I'm the intake assistant now. I'm continuing as a volunteer advocate as well. So I've been doing that for about almost 4 years, and just recently this past summer came on as the intake assistant. So I'm supporting the team of women who do the very first calls with our clients when they first come into the Call to Peace Ministries system.
Oh, well, we're grateful for you. And Naomi.
Yeah, hi, I'm Naomi Jubilee, and what Rebecca really means is that she just supports me. Um, like, hey, Rebecca, can you? Yeah, we've grown so much. I've been here for 7 years. In has it's 7? Yeah, almost 7 years in January. I've been here, and we've grown so much. We're gonna have about 800 women coming through intake this year, and that's a lot. And Rebecca is crucial to that. I'm the intake coordinator and advocate coordinator. So as intake coordinator, I help oversee like the process procedures. How is this working? How can this be more functional? On the advocate coordinator side, we have about 155 volunteer advocates currently. Those are spread across the US. There's about 10 of those that are international. So me, along with Diantha, who she could not be here today, but we do ongoing training, client consultations, foster.
Oh, well, we will bring you back on, Naomi.
Oh no.
You're
Okay.
back.
Okay. And we're back. Yeah. So just really trying to foster advocate team community, doing what we can to make advocating here with Call to Peace Ministries enjoyable, engaging, not cumbersome, not challenging. So kind of like all of that.
Well, awesome. Well, I am so grateful for you both and the work that y'all do. You manage the volunteers that are really what we call the boots on the ground of this organization. This organization is really volunteer. So much of them are doing our work. And can you tell us, Naomi, how many advocates do we have right now?
155.
Wow.
Um,
And we're planning to expand that in the new
there's
year. I'll be talking more.
there's about 6 in the onboarding phases right now, and the classes finish up in the end of December, and we always get a influx right around then. So we just continue to grow.
That's awesome. That is so exciting to see how much we've grown. So I'm looking forward to that. So, in simple terms, what do advocacy look like from day to day?
I think for me, it's a literal grab bag. I could be helping somebody with a custody plan, getting ready to go to court. I could be helping somebody determine, is this really abuse or not? I could be giving somebody pointers for parenting traumatized children. I could be exploring scripture that's been twisted and or lies she's been told, helping her find the truth. It's like a magic 8 ball. You just never know what you're gonna get. But it could be anything, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's true that it's tailored to the needs of the client. And one of the things we're taught in advocacy training is that a lot of it is listening.
Mhm.
So we're taught to listen about 90% of the time and talk about 10%. So
Yes.
um, it also just helps. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Uh, it it also looks like just helping a woman identify her options and not telling her what to do, but
Mhm.
helping her determine what her choices are. She's been told for years by her abuser what to do. So we're helping her rediscover her own voice and figure out what is best for her own life.
And so this question is geared more towards Rebecca because you're on the intake team and Naomi too. I love to hear you chime in on this. What does it look like when a survivor first reaches out to Call to Peace Ministries? What is the first thing? Because they go through our intake process first. That's the first place they meet an advocate. What does that look like?
Yeah, so the intake call is where we talk with the woman, find out about what her story is, what she's been through, and what her current situation is, what her needs are. And then from the intake call, we're able to write a report that goes then to the advocate who will eventually work with her. And it also, at the intake call phase, we're able to just identify what resources we have that will be most helpful for the client. So we try to be just a warm and friendly presence on the other end of the line, because often these women are, they're afraid, they're reaching out to a new organization, they haven't had to tell their story very often, they often have not been believed.
Mhm.
I have women tell me, you're the first person I've talked to who has actually believed me, and
Yeah,
that's really sad, but I'm really glad that we can be that listening voice for them.
yeah. Well, we also do safety assessment and planning just to make sure that she's safe as she can be, whether she's choosing to stay in her situation or leave. We don't influence her one way or another. We sort of give her like the buffet of options and I say, like, here are your choices. You are intelligent. You get to decide. We will support you. So we help her be safe in whatever kind of plane she's existing in.
That's awesome. I love that about advocacy is we never tell a woman what to do, is we're allowing them to rediscover their own walk with the Holy Spirit, to be able to move forward to what God is calling them to do. So thank you. Could you clarify for me how does advocacy differ from counseling or pastoral care?
Yeah, we actually had this as a discussion topic this year in one of our monthly meetings, which was super fun. And so, in basic terms, counseling is how do you feel about that hurtful thing that happened to you, and let's dive deep and explore, your childhood trauma and all of those things. And advocacy is okay. What are the options that you have before you now? And I'm gonna be back here being your cheerleader no matter what you decide. A counselor might not always be the cheerleader. A counselor might be like, let's maybe readjust that. But an advocate is there just to be, we're going to support you. We're going to tell you if it's safe or not, but we're still going to support you. Um, the other thing, I mean, counseling varies a lot with where it's at, but pastoral care specifically, like that's going to be a lot more longer term, especially relationally, as if counselors out of church, that's gonna be a long-term kinda growth relationship, where advocacy, some of the people we get to meet if we're lucky, but usually not, and it's a much shorter term relationship.
Yeah, people will sometimes ask me what the difference is between those things, and I often answer with language that I picked up from Darby Strickland's class that she teaches through the Christian Counseling and Education Foundation. She says that advocacy deals mostly with your external life, while counseling is dealing with your inner emotional life, and pastoral care is dealing with your spiritual life. So the advocate is looking at things like safety and organizing your story so that you can tell it to people like the police or the courts or your church or anyone else that you need to involve. Advocates are helping you find resources, so they're dealing with the externals. I mean, there's overlap, but that's an easy way to think about it.
Wow, that was really helpful. Thank you for clarifying all that. That helps me understand better, and I'm sure it helps the audience understand better as well. How does having a trained advocate change the outcome for survivors and their children?
So, I like statistics, as those of you who know me well know this. So one of the earliest things I feel like is, like, getting a protective order or making a police report sometimes. Um, if a woman does that on her own, 30% of those are likely to be acted upon. But if an advocate helps her, 60% of those reports are likely to be acted on. And then there's gonna be a decrease in, like, secondary, victim emotions, less guilt about what she's doing, like, "Oh, I can't leave him, that's unkind," like, less likely to be depressed, 53% versus 88%. And they're more likely to seek future help, like 90% versus 60%. Um, so it's really, really big, and they're 3 times as likely to work better with their attorneys in court, and just overall, there's a lower rate of homicides. There's, less violence, greater quality of life, improved mental health over time. So, like, statistically, like, those are sort of the things, like, it's measurable. Having a trained advocate helps.
Yeah, and in addition to all those facts and figures that Naomi presented, I found myself thinking about Proverbs 31:25, which tells us that the Proverbs 31 woman, it describes her this way. It says, "Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she smiles at the future." I think
Mm,
advocacy gives women the sense that they have a voice, that they actually have a future that's worth fighting for and smiling about, that they have options, that they have strength and dignity. That's irreplaceable to someone who's been oppressed throughout her entire relationship.
Wow. And then I want to kind of piggyback off this question and kind of clarify something too. And that is, why is support for families so important during the healing process? And I know advocacy provides so much support. One thing is we're more long term, whereas shelters are very short term. So I kind of understand, why is this so crucial?
Healing is a very long process.
Mm-hmm.
She's gotta rediscover her true identity, identify, reject lies. She's been told these for years. So you don't recover from years of abuse in a day, in a week, or in a year. The majority of women and then their children coming out, they're gonna have effects from the trauma that show up: anxiety, depression, PTSD, trouble focusing at school, work, questions about God, their faith, what they've been taught about scripture. They're gonna, like, it becomes a time where you just question your whole reality,
Yeah.
and you have to do all of that if you've especially if you've chosen to separate and leave. You have to restart life logistically. You gotta find a job, you gotta adjust to a different lifestyle, you gotta take care of these traumatized kids, find a new place to live, get your utilities changed over. Remember that you have to pay power bill. That was mine, I forgot to do that.
Ooh.
I forgot power bills needed to be paid when I first left. Whoops. And then you have to deal with that while dealing with post-separation abuse. There's so much people don't normally see, and if she has somebody that is a true friend, that is invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
Invaluable. You're supporting all of those things, you can't see them.
Yes, what Naomi said.
Thank you. That was excellent explanation. And so, I would also like to see if you could share possibly a meaningful breakthrough or success moment, no names or details.
Rebecca, you wanna go on this?
Sure, yeah. I recently reached out to my very first advocacy client because I was just wondering how she was doing. When I first met her, she was a nervous wreck. She was so scared of her ex that she couldn't even get on the court ordered co parenting therapy on Zoom without being in a panic attack. And I had to like coach her through sticking a post it note over his face on the monitor so she wouldn't have to look at him, so she wouldn't get so scared. And now she is confident. She's showing up at school events, even though she knows he's going to be there. Um, Her ex is continuing to drag her to court and probably will until the child turns 18, which is something we often see with our clients. But she's persevering. She's telling her story. She's organizing her facts. She's keeping records of everything that happens. She wrote a chapter for a book about her experiences that was published online recently, and she's hoping one day to be able to have her story help other women. So, I mean, the transformation is amazing, and I'm just convinced that that's the power of the Holy Spirit at work, and just so grateful
Yeah.
to be able to see that thriving.
Wow.
I love that.
I know.
Um, it's like there's always so many different stories that come to mind for me, but, um, I think the cumulative effect, because having been here at Call to Peace for so long, I have now seen some of my own advocacy clients now join the team of advocates with me as fellow advocates, or people that I talked through intake that weren't my personal clients, but I took their initial story. They're now advocates and they're helping women. And I'm assigning clients to them, but I know where they started,
Mhm.
and it's like an advocacy family tree. And I know that they're going to impact them, going to impact them,
Yeah.
and then we all kind of came back to where Joy and Dr. Deborah, when I first came, I guess it would have been 8 years ago. Math is bad today, but I joined the first support groups, and Joy was my advocate, and Dr. Deborah was my advocate. That was before those classes existed. And I just think, starting from 2 and how we've multiplied 155, and thousands have been through, over 1,000 have been through the advocacy training classes. So it's just, it's amazing. They're starting nonprofits. Like, that's what I see, is just all of that together.
Wow, that gets me so excited about, like, being an advocate and well, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, as far as for somebody being an advocate and seeing
Mhm,
just how much that impact multiplies. And I mean, thinking about where we were 8 years ago, Naomi, I remember meeting you then in that
mhm.
first support group. Like, we never dreamed we'd be here today. Like,
Mhm.
No.
ever,
We
ever.
were just trying to survive, you and
Yes.
I,
Yes, it was a small little support group with printout materials, and that was it, like, and it
Mhm,
helped us out. So, it's amazing, and it just makes me excited because we're getting ready to expand. We're at such a critical growth point with Call to Peace, and we're going to be talking more about that as we get into December. It makes me excited to think about where will we be in the next 8 years, the next decade? What will God be doing if we continue just to multiply as we're multiplying? But we need the volunteers to multiply. It's not like we can't do this without volunteers. If we don't have more people serving with us alongside us as advocates, it really just it can't grow and expand. And so it gets me so excited to know about the potential that people can be involved in this. And it's been so healing for me. And I know Naomi and anybody else who's been through abuse can say the same thing. It's such a redemption to go through this and to be able to say, wow, I'm now able to take my story, what I've learned, and be able to give that back to another woman and to be able to see her thrive and then see her help somebody else and see them thrive. And it's like,
mhm.
wow, God, you had a plan, you had purpose. So that kind of leads me to a question that is, what would you say to somebody, maybe if they're feeling a call to advocacy? Maybe what are some signs they're ready? What would you say to them?
The sign-up link is on the website. Uh, but, I mean, it is, so sign up for classes because they're a year long. So if you're not ready, but you want to help, just start, because you have 12 months to get through, and there is no obligation to become affiliated at that time, and you can continue taking classes for free after that forever. So just because you sign up doesn't mean like, "Oh, this is committing me." Like, a lot of times it helps your own personal healing journey. But I think if you're feeling that, there's a reason you're feeling that. I know for me, it does give meaning to my story, because you suddenly become aware of it, and you can see all these people being affected, and it's like, finding a lost people group, and now you're like, "I know how to reach them because I got out, so now I can go back in." Um, and if you're feeling that tug, I would say follow it,
Mhm.
you know? It's not easy, it's not pleasant all the time, but it's definitely fulfilling. You will make an incredible impact.
Um, I think the vast bulk of our advocates are, in fact, women who have been through this themselves, have
Mhm,
gone through the healing process, and now they're in a place where things are stable enough for them that they're able to think about giving back and helping others who are where they once were. So often it's that feeling of, okay, this is my next step, this is my next phase. We do have also some women who serve as advocates who maybe are like parents of someone who had been in an abusive situation, or relatives, friends. So that's also a possibility. I would say too that for me there was kind of a fire in my belly to right or wrong. Like, I think for a time I didn't understand abuse, and I didn't realize that it was so prevalent in the church, and I just was very misinformed. And so when I became aware that I had been part of the problem, I felt like it was really on me to become a part of the solution. So um, I think you'll get that fire in your belly to make something right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so exciting. And I want to say a plug for the advocacy course as well, as it's so incredibly amazing as far as healing. Like, I know I went through a little bit later than Naomi. I think you jumped in it very early. You were like,
Well,
when
I was also working here, so it was like in it and not in it, and it's kind of all over the place.
I was a little scared of it. I'll be honest. I paid for it, and then I was like, it took me 2 years later until I started working here that I was like, I got to do this. Now I've been through it a couple of times, and I absolutely love it. And I know it sounds crazy. I was scared of it. I didn't know what was going to come out, and it was
Mhm.
amazing. It was so healing. Like, I go through things now in my life, like maybe we all are normal. Like, we have triggers and things happen, and I'm able to look at that with a different lens and almost like advocate for myself and be like, oh wow, I understand the dynamics, what's happened. I don't feel blindsided. I don't feel out of control of my life. I know dynamics of abuse. I know what's happening. I know how to explain it. And so it just gives you that language and puts you, as a survivor, you feel so out of control. It puts you back in control when you're able to have language and understanding of what's going on in your world, instead of like, why are they so mean to me? Why does this keep happening to me? What's wrong with me? You're like, no, I have that language now. I'm strong. I know what's going on. So I wish every survivor that's been through domestic violence could take this. And I not, please don't take this judgmentally, y'all. I'm not meaning this judgmentally, but I work with women that have not been through the advocacy training, or different things like that. The understanding of somebody who's been through CTPM's advocacy training or something very similar, and the understanding of somebody who's not, is drastically different. It is so different. People get it. They've been through this training in ways that other people just don't. You see the dynamics so clearly, so well, so fast. You're just like, I get this. Whereas other
Mhm.
people can miss it. So I cannot recommend it enough. And so I kind of want to hear your thoughts too. I'm talking on not because I like love it and I'm not even in it, but I love this department.
Could I just say that, as you were talking, it reminded me, like, going in life, um, as you're learning yourself, if you're using that language, some of the things that just it tickles me, but I'm also really proud, is to listen to my children accuse each other, and they'll be like, "You're manipulating me."
Yeah,
"Well, don't gaslight me."
yeah,
Like, they're using the terms.
yes,
Because
yes. My daughter's like, that's not
um
reality. That's
And it's
manipulation.
hilarious, but, like, also very empowering for me to know,
Yes.
and to see them with their tiny little relationships, well, I know that that made me uncomfortable, so I knew it wasn't gonna be forever in middle school, but having that strength passed on is another thing that advocacy kind of it does indirectly, is we're helping the women, and we as advocates here ourselves too, then those children are impacted. So there's a generational impact as well.
Wow. Yes, that is so important. I'm really, really glad you say that. And that's one of the things I think is so powerful about Call to Peace advocacy, is that when you support us and when you become an advocate, you're not only helping her, you're breaking generational trauma.
Mhm.
You're breaking the trauma of domestic violence because you're helping her get strong. As so many women say, they now are able to parent their children differently. They're able to help explain their children within words, because we do talk about
Mhm.
parenting traumatized children, what's going on and how to discern it. They have words to help their children. So I highly recommend this course. And Naomi, and it's Rebecca, to kind of close us out here, I would love to say, could you just give me a highlight of maybe what's going on in this course? It starts in January, y'all, but you can join anytime. I highly recommend January. It's brand new, it's fresh. You go right through it. So go ahead and look in the links in the post, get signed up. go ahead and register. We do, I think there is scholarships available. If you email Dr. Deborah, if you will have to explain your situation and why you need a scholarship. If and she gets to approve all that, that's not us. But do reach out and apply for that. I think it's amazing. But could you kind of give us an overview of what to expect in the advocacy course?
Go for it, Naomi.
Okay. And for anybody that wants to, you can go on the website. There is a list of the courses, but I will read them off to you because I did plan for this question. So, we cover coercive control, victim dynamics, like what does it look like to work with a victim? What are the impacts? And some of that is emotional, physiologically, spiritually. Um, what are abusers like? Like, what are the different ones? What are the risk factors? Uh-oh. Um, how do you interview somebody? How do you interview motivationally? What are different kind of conversation techniques you can use? What are the impacts of trauma and like how might that affect advocacy where you feel like you're not getting anywhere sometimes? It's not a reflection on you, but what can you do different that might, help something there? What are the impacts on children? How do you find resources? Because as advocates, we work everywhere. I've the farthest I've worked, I think, is Ireland. Talked to a lovely lady in Ireland. How do you find resources? So we learn how to find resources in wherever, family court issues, and that's a big one, right? And then kind of more with that, how does the coercive control, post separation abuse, child abuse, like how does it work when you're kind of juggling that? Even just things like exchanging children safely and what are the impacts of child abuse and then as parents, so like it's all these different levels, and throughout that we have faith-based scripture, prayer, all kinds of things to help. We take a minute, as Tabitha Westbrook says, you are the only you that you have, and we take moments during training because it's very heavy to say, okay, we're going to take a minute, we're going to breathe, we're doing grounding exercise. But then we also interlace scripture, and that's really what makes our training unique, is that we have both the academic and the faith-based knowledge together, and we are constantly improving it and redoing the slides and adding new information. So it's really incredible.
Mhm.
And it's led by Dr. Deborah and Dr. Jess, who are both, people with advanced degrees in these things. But then they bring in other experts as well. Tabitha Westbrook, who's a wonderful counselor, and other people who can kind of speak into their specific niche issues.
What's so funny, Naomi?
I was sorry, I was pointing at myself. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Diantha and I will go in and we'll teach a
Yep.
little bit here and there. We'll help with slides.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm so glad y'all shared all that. And I kind of wanted to close out here too with one more final question. And that is who are who can become an advocate? Like, and not just like promoting just the advocacy course, but like, is it pastors? They take this and learn and become an advocate? Should a counselor take this? Like, what would you say? What do you recommend?
Yes.
Anybody can
Yeah.
take it.
We have had pastors and counselors take it, yes.
So anybody can take it.
But yes.
Anybody can take it, and even if you are not planning to be an advocate specifically, it will greatly enhance your ability to do whatever you're doing, even if you are working in an office, because it uh, domestic abuse impacts 1 in 3 women, and that's just violent physical abuse.
Mhm.
So everybody knows somebody, even if they're not aware of what's going on. And even if you are just a friend that is knowledgeable, and trust me, the people will start coming to you.
Oh,
But,
yes.
whatever your career is, this is a training worth having, but especially pastors, counselors, teachers, and anybody, really. I mean, why wouldn't you want to know?
And then after I take 6 months of it, I possibly can apply to become an advocate and go through your process or a year. And then I don't have to have any other credentials. I can just become an advocate once I've taken this course. Is that correct?
Well, so it's actually after the first 4, those are the foundational. And so after the first 4, you can start the onboarding process. And there's an interview that you go through. We talk about your background, your history of trauma, how your trauma is doing today. Your trauma needs to be at a manageable level. And we'll talk about if there's specific triggers so that maybe we avoid those certain types of clients and we consider those advocates on a supervisory kind of level where we're going to check on in them more. We never throw anybody out to the wolves.
Thank
But
you.
with newer advocates, we're going to give them, there's no easier cases, but sometimes there are. It's hard to explain that we're going to try to give them less complex cases, um, things that are not going to be as triggering, or they might start out in band online where they're monitoring things and seeing other advocates respond. There's so many ways that you can advocate, not just one to one. There's administrative stuff, there's creating webinars, there's so many things that you can do. But really what makes a good advocate is, are you empathetic? Can you be supportive? Like, can you listen? Can you actually listen? Because that's a skill. So you have to not wanna just jump in. Can you be non-judgmental for these women who have so much guilt and blame on them? Are you trustworthy? Can we trust you? Uh, are you flexible and collaborative? Like, do you work well with others? Because we have a team, and we're really trying very hard to be a team together where you can go and post in our advocates ban, and you can say, "Hey, I'm working with a client. Here's the situation. Am I know a resource for this?" And we're there for each other. Are you gentle? Because, for example, maybe if your trauma's not healed, and you're not so gentle, it's not gonna go well for the clients, and we need you to be at a good place. And sometimes we have advocates that are doing well, and then something happens personally in their lives because as survivors, maybe they have to go back to court, and it is okay to take a break.
Mhm.
That happens on a pretty regular basis. We are here for you. As an advocate coordinator, me and Diana, we are here for you. We are the advocates' advocates. We will be there for you no matter like what's going on. Do you have cancer? We have advocates with cancer right now that are taking breaks. We have advocates like life happens to all of us. But we really consider ourselves like this is not just a volunteer role. Like we love you, care about you. And is that something that you want to come into and be a team with us? Um, so that's kind of like what we look for, because
Yes.
really anybody can advocate. We have women up to I wish I knew how old. I want to say upper 70s at least, if not in the 80s. Somebody's gonna message me later and be like, "It's me. I'm the oldest."
I love it. Well, this makes me so excited. I like want to do an altar call here and be like, all eyes closed, raise your
Come walk down the comments, everybody.
That's awesome. It sounds like it's, and I know it is, but such a wonderful community for so many survivors that have lost such a community. They find just such a camaraderie with being able to serve alongside other people that have the same heart, the same passion, the same connection. And it's just wonderful to see that at the retreat and see them connect and have those
Mhm,
times together. So, Rebecca, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think I'm good. Just please join us. We would love to have you.
mhm.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the link is in the post, so go ahead and sign up, get registered for that January, start praying about it. We love to see you there and be part of the Call to Peace Ministries family. So come join